Well, Bora Pawb, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Later today, I will be introducing the Welsh Housing Quality Standard 2023, building on the excellent achievements of its predecessor, which I am pleased to say all social homes in Wales have achieved. I'm introducing this new standard so that we can continue to drive up the quality of social housing in Wales. The new standard is bold and it is deliberately demanding. We are doing this because we are determined that social housing in Wales delivers low carbon, high quality homes for tenants that are safe, affordable to heat, and fit for the 21st century and beyond. Living in a quality home brings multiple physical and mental well-being benefits. The 44 elements that make up the standard will ensure social homes in Wales continue to provide those benefits. The 2020s have already brought rapid and unexpected change. The coronavirus pandemic fundamentally changed how people live and work and what they need from a home. Social justice and equality issues such as broadband access and flooring provision, building safety and the ability to live safely and securely in homes have become even more paramount. Appreciation of our homes is higher than ever, which is why this new standard is so firmly focused on tenants. As the Minister for Climate Change, it will come as no surprise that I have made decarbonisation of our social housing stock a central theme for this new standard. Through our work on social homes, we can learn how to effectively and efficiently upgrade homes in ways which reduce tenants' energy bills as well as their carbon emissions. What we learn upgrading the 230,000 social homes in Wales will drive how we as a nation tackle decarbonising the 1.2 million privately owned homes in Wales. Our new standard for existing social housing sets the ambition of EPC-A or SAP 92 or greater in the future. This aligns with the social housing new build standard that I introduced 2 years ago. But the standard is about much more than decarbonisation and affordable warmth. It introduces a new flooring element into the standard, which means at change of tenancy, all habitable rooms, staircases and landings located within the home should have suitable floor coverings. As well as making the home more comfortable for a new tenant and improving insulation, this has the added benefit of reducing unnecessary waste from removing perfectly suitable flooring when a tenancy comes to an end, which is the default current practice. On the issue of damp and mould, the standard provides additional clarity based on the learning from the tragic case in Rochdale of Awab Ishaq. The standard makes absolutely clear the requirement of social landlords that homes must be free from damp, including persistent condensation. There are 13 elements within this new standard that are either new or revised, and landlords will need to start the process of becoming compliant with these elements from April the 1st next year. We are taking a pragmatic approach to these changes, with a number of elements being realised at change of tenancy. This will ensure there is a process of phasing in elements over a period of time to assist social landlords with programme costs. In addition, new elements such as the whole stock assessment and targeted energy pathways mentioned earlier will need to be completed within a 3-year period. The cost of meeting these new elements relating to affordable warmth and decarbonisation can be funded from social landlords' optimised retrofit programme budget allocations. I know the sector expressed concerns about the cost of meeting the standard during the consultation phase, and those concerns persist in terms of financing our ambitions for decarbonising the social housing sector. So along with core funding streams such as major repairs allowance providing over 60 million to local authorities annually, and dowry funding of over 43 million to the large-scale voluntary transfer housing associations, we have the optimised retrofit programme providing 270 million over this term of government to social housing. However, to provide additional support, I intend to make 22.5 million available across this year and next, targeted at supporting social housing, meeting the new Wales Housing Quality Standard. Over the next year, my officials will work with the sector to ensure that future funding best supports the ongoing work to meet the new standard, as well as supporting innovation. This new standard has been developed in collaboration with stakeholders and across departments over a 2-year period. It also contains elements that align with our circular economy principles, active travel, biodiversity and water efficiency to contribute to our climate change goals set out in our Net Zero Wales plans. I'm confident it's the right standard at the right time, but implementation will not be without its challenges. As a government, we will continue to work collaboratively with the sector in the same way we have developed the standard to overcome these challenges. I'm committed to a review of the standard within 3 years, enabling us to take account of what the whole stock surveys are telling us. The scale of the challenge of upgrading social housing is extensive. This new standard is bold and achievable, and it is deliberately demanding. However, we've done it before, and together with our social landlords, we can do it again. We need to be pragmatic, rise to the challenge, because our Welsh tenants are counting on us. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. And now take questions, starting with Dan Wilson.
Thank you, Minister. This announcement obviously is very much around upgrading existing stock, but can you guarantee that it won't divert attention or resources away from the very real need for more social housing in the first place?
Oh, absolutely not. This is to go alongside the new build programme. We've already made sure that the new build programme delivers low carbon, climate friendly housing. Those houses are better for the tenants who live in them as well as for the planet that we all depend on. This absolutely is a parallel programme to bring the existing stock up to the standard that the new stock is already being built to.
Thank you. And on the subject of climate change, we saw that the impact of Storm Babette over the weekend and at the end of last week, Northeast Wales really took the brunt of it in terms of here. We've heard from residents, particularly near Wrexham, who say that there was potentially that flood defences were not being properly used or temporary flood defences were not put in place. Natural Resources Wales, obviously, who look after that, say they're investigating it. But how concerned are you by that possibility?
So we rely very heavily on Natural Resources Wales to work with our communities. We have community action programmes right across Wales where communities come together to understand where they're at threat of flooding, what to do in their own interests, as well as what can be relied on from NRW. Climate change is real and it's upon us. We're having to deal with events we really didn't think we'd have to deal with on this regular basis. We need to all be more resilient. We'll, of course, do a lessons learned from Storm Babette, as we always do, and it's too early for me to be able to say the ins and outs of exactly what happened. But, we work very hard to make sure that our communities are resilient and can help themselves as much as possible, as well as relying on the amazing NRW staff, who I just want to pay some tribute to, because they work tirelessly, 24 hours all the way around the clock to try and make sure people were safe. But it's too early for me to be able to answer, real detail about what exactly happened. Thank you, Dan. So turning to Dan Davis on the screen now.
Thanks, Minister. You mentioned the EPCA standard. Is the target for that still 2033? I'm sure you'll be aware that a lot of people in the sector, when you started consulting, thought that these standards were not achievable in that timescale without extra money. And I know you've just announced 22 million for this year and next. Can you say where that's come from? Have you cut something else in your department to pay for that?
No, that's coming out of the programme we already had for decarbonisation. That's not coming out of a transfer. We've always intended to decarbonise our social housing stock. We've been working on the Welsh Housing Quality Standard for a considerable period of time now. I just want to tell you that at the beginning of the first Welsh Housing Quality Standard, everybody said we couldn't do it. Everybody was universally convinced we couldn't do it, but we have done it. We've done it because the sector pulled together, because tenants want it, and because it's the right thing to do. So yes, we'll do this in stages. So it's EPC C by 2029 first, but the whole housing stock assessments will be really important. So we'll need to get that information back, and then we'll need to recalibrate. But yes, the target is in place. I'm absolutely convinced we can do it. We will need to fund it, yes. We will need to skill up our workforce to do it, yes. But we absolutely need to do it, and we need to do it for decarbonisation, but also for energy efficiency for our tenants.
Thanks. We were expecting you to make a statement on water quality today. That's been postponed till December the 12th. Can you tell us why? And particularly in the light of more stories, BBC story last week on discharges into the River Tavy. No fines issued by Natural Resources Wales in this case, and they say that they're looking at another 101 Dŵr Cymru plants. Are you happy that they're taking robust enough action, or are they letting water companies off the hook?
So I have a series of meetings with both Dŵr Cymru and Natural Resources Wales coming up, both separately and together. And we've postponed the oral statement until after the next summit so that we can make sure that the action plan is on track, and I can report properly back to the Senedd where the action plan is from the phosphate summit. So the water quality issues will come up there, and we'll be able to properly interrogate the data. So this isn't about delay for delay's sake. It's about making sure that the sequence of events is such that we get the best information to Senedd members so that they can take the appropriate action. Thank you, Dan. So the next one is Hamish Oscary from ITV Wales.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, I mean, the Welsh Housing Quality Standard has been around for 20 years now. I wonder whether, given we're still talking about EPC rated C homes by 2029, whether or not people who are living in homes that are cold and damp will feel this is as ambitious as you say it is.
So the previous standard got us to EPC D. That's considerable improvement on where their stock was. So all stock is at EPC D already. And then this is the next step of improvements. So I think it is ambitious. I think the eventual target is ambitious as well. It's quite stretching. We have a large number of houses, some of the oldest in Europe, as well as I always want to say, some of the best in Europe. So we need to work with our partners to do this, but I think it's the right thing to do. And it has to be achievable, stretching but achievable. So I think that's what we've set out. And the standard is, quite stretching in a number of other areas as well, and makes some immediate improvements too.
Just one other question: the points about bicycle storage and water butts, has that come from feedback from tenants about the need for that kind of provision, or where does that come from exactly?
So that's part of our overarching ambition, that homes should be livable in and usable into the changing climate. So the water butts, that saves an enormous amount of water from going into our watercourses. We've already had flooding over the last few days. I mean, it's essential that we do these measures to make sure that we're able to have more resilience. It also allows our tenants to, make sure that they can grow nice things in their backyard, vegetables or fruit, flowers if they want to, and be able to water it in a sustainable fashion. I mean, it's an important part of decarbonising and climate proofing our housing. And the bicycle storage is the same thing. If we're asking people to undertake active travel and to have more active lives, then they have to have somewhere to store the equipment to do that. And I mean, I'm famous for saying that much of the housing that's been built in Wales, you walk through the front door. The first thing I always ask is, where would I hang my Mac in this house? If you can barely get in and there's nowhere to put your toddler's bike, then that's not really a livable home. And it puts stress on that family right from the get-go. And so we want to build housing where that just does not happen. Thank you, Hamish. So the next one is Ruth Masalski from Wales Online.
Hi, Minister. Can you give us an update, please, on 20 mile an hour? Obviously falls in your remit. We know you've got internal polling and data coming to you. So can you tell us compliance, exemption requests, etc., please?
So we'll be looking at how the policy is rolling out across Wales. We've already looked at how it's been implemented in different areas. I can tell you I have a meeting with the WLGA this afternoon alongside Lee Waters, who's the Minister with primary responsibility for the policy, to discuss the rollout across Wales. And obviously we'll be keeping it under review as it rolls out, but it's very early days yet.
I'm sure you saw polling last week, which was obviously in the initial aftermath of the policy being rolled out. There was 46% opposition and 34% support. There was then polling last week from Redfield and Wilton that it was 59% opposition. Are you worried that opposition number appears to be getting higher as time goes on rather than better, which is what the Deputy Minister said you hoped for?
Well, so there's a standard curve for introduction of safety measures, which this is still tracking. We take the opposition very seriously. People are very concerned about the changes to their way of life. But so far, I have to say, from my own experience, it makes little difference. So I drove all the way to North Wales last Thursday and all the way back again on Friday. The thing that caused most disruption to my journey was flooding and climate change. 20 miles an hour made absolutely no difference to the amount of time it took me to either get there or get back. People will get used to it, and we'll have to adapt as accordingly.
So did you say at the beginning there it is tracking as you expected?
It is tracking along the Goodwin curve as I understand it, but I don't have primary responsibility for this, and I don't have those statistics with me at the moment. Thank you.